Hello everyone, I'm Mallory Gabriel, and I will be presenting from Research Methods in Informatics over Topic 27, Stratified Random Sampling, and Topic 28, Cluster Sampling. Last week we learned that random sampling gives each member of a population an equal chance of being included in a sample. When it's done correctly, the resulting sample is by definition unbiased, yet it may still contain sampling errors. The two major ways to reduce sampling errors are to increase sample size and to use stratification in conjunction with random sampling, which is called stratified random sampling. A stratified random sample is a way of modifying the methods we have already been learning. Strata is a layer. When you stratify a random sample, you create layers in the random or systematic selection of the sample. Stratified samples first create homogeneous groups from the population and then make a proportional but random selection from each of the groups. This can help with several difficulties found in the previous methods by improving the representation of specific groups from the population. To obtain a stratified random sample, first divide a population into strata. For example, researchers can easily divide a population into men and women because gender is typically identifiable. Once the two homogeneous groups are formed, the researcher draws randomly from the men and then from the women. Researchers usually draw samples by considering the total number of individuals they wish to have in the sample as a percentage of the population, and drawing the same percentage from each group rather than drawing the same number of people from each group. For example, if there are 600 women and 400 men in a population, and a researcher wants a sample size of 100, he or she will not draw 50 men and 50 women. That would not accurately reflect the population. Instead, the researcher considers that 100 is 10% of the total population size of 1,000. Because 10% is needed, 10% for this test would result in the sample of 60 women and 40 men for accurate representation. Though these proportions are accurate in terms of its gender composition, the sample from each gender might not be representative of its respective group. Nevertheless, it is better to ensure that men and women are represented in the correct proportions by using stratified random sampling than to take a chance on misrepresentation of gender that might be obtained by using simple random sampling. Researchers can use multiple strata or layers to further increase precision, because if a sample is being based off gender and the men and women share the same opinions, the stratification variable of gender is irrelevant if those in the various layers are the same in terms of what's being studied. Stratification will improve precision only if the stratification segments the population for a characteristic along with which people are expected to predictably differ in the item being described, explained, or predicted. Researchers are not confined to using just two variables for stratification. They can further increase precision by using multiple strata to select a given sample. Stratification depends heavily on logical, defendable decisions that reflect an understanding of the concepts and issues to result in high-quality work. Topic 28, Cluster Sampling. Cluster sampling is another form of probability sampling. In this sampling method, researchers draw groups or clusters of participants instead of selecting individuals. It may be used when getting a list of all individuals that constitute a population is difficult or impossible, but getting a complete list of a higher unit of analysis is not. An example of cluster sampling would be if a researcher was trying to predict the percentage of individuals who have had their social media accounts hacked in the United States. For instance, it may be hard to get a list of all the individuals who have been compromised, as well as getting them to participate in a research project. Instead, the researcher could draw a sample of clusters. In this case, they could reach out to a social media provider and request their participation in the project. This would be beneficial because these companies have the statistical evidence of compromised users and could ask for their participation directly. By this collaboration, the chances of participation increases greatly. Cluster sampling does have some drawbacks. Each cluster tends to be more homogeneous in a variety of ways than the population as a whole. To avoid this problem, the researcher should draw a large number of clusters to help increase precision, and they could also use stratification combined with cluster sampling. Thank you so much for listening. Please leave me a comment down below if you have any questions. For my works cited, I used our Understanding Research Methods textbook as well as the corresponding PowerPoint slides. And then the image that I used within the presentation was retrieved from a cybersecurity blog.